to be How's It Hanging? How's It Happen? You guys know it as this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast on Soul Magazine describes as the one that initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of the favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We're all sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire code CBPod at darkfusionsystems.com. Links to the podcast below. Go to millionpodcast.com. They have a whole bunch of lists ranking different podcasts according to different categories all across the world. We're on two of them. Best metal podcast in the world and best metalcore podcast in the world. For best metal podcast in the world, we're in the top 10, still at number 10, and I'm trying to push that to number 1 because that'd be awesome. But we're closer on metalcore. We're number 2 in the world. I want to get that number 1 ranking, and we're going to keep it pushing, and we're going to keep it going. So we're going to go feature presentation. We have Crispin from the band, the Veer Union, on the podcast. Their brand new Reinvention comes out on February 20th. We talk about Crispin reflecting back after over 20 years in music and how they got to this point and how, there were people in the industry that told them no, and he just kind of weed him out and started betting on himself, and the Veer Union's been around for 20 plus years. We also dive deep into Reinvention, how fans have taken to the singles, and of course ask the question, which non-single are you most excited for people to hear on release day and why? And he picks his favorite, so that's awesome. You guys ready for a good, quick conversation? Full of good stuff. Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. It is pretty safe to say that you have seen this band one time before if you are anywhere in the rock and metal space. I can guarantee you've been to a show. I can guarantee you that they have played that show and you have enjoyed it thoroughly at least one point in time in life. And if you haven't, well, now there's a chance to do it with brand new music coming out, bringing their alt metal style from Vancouver, Canada. The brand new album Reinvention comes out on February 20th, 2026, and we are here to talk all about it. So please welcome Crispin from the Veer Union to the podcast. So Crispin, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Thanks for being on, man. Hey, brand new album set to come out, starting out 2026 strong. Just, dude, what's life feeling like right now? How's everything going for you?
Good, man. Good. I'm just glad to still be doing it, man. Still making music, and I'm super proud of this album. And here we are.
I mean, here we are. Yeah, it's been 20 plus years of the Veer Union, and just kind of looking back at that, just there's very few artists or very few bands that can say they've been making music for that long and have been doing it at such a level of prominence where not only are they known, nationally or in a certain specific part of the world, but are known internationally continuously as well. It's something that so many artists and musicians strive for, but very few actually get. So, being able to reflect on that, especially with the brand new album coming out, dude, that's got to feel great.
No, it feels amazing. And, a lot of people have been asking me, it's just like, did you expect that you would still be doing this? And when I first started doing music, I had manager after manager and record label after record label. They're like, if this song doesn't go, this is the end of your career. And I'm just like, okay. I started believing them at the beginning of my career. And then all of a sudden I started weeding out the managers and I started managing myself. And then I started weeding out the labels, and then I started doing it myself. And I found the more I started weeding people out, the more success I started getting because I didn't care anymore. And that's kind of where I'm at now in my life, where I'm just like, man, I'm so happy that this is my day job. This is what I do. And, I'm very grateful. I don't take it for granted. I can tell you that much.
Well, that is a fantastic thing to hear. Plus, just kind of taking a look back at what you said previously with your career, where you had managers and other people saying, if this song doesn't hit, that's the end of your career. At that point in time, those people are not there to see the longevity of an artist or see an artist grow. What they want to do is they want to get that cash or that payday right away, that payoff. And if it's not going to happen, they're going to try and just push them off to the side because they want to find that next big thing. But from where you came from, especially, at the beginning of social media, really beginning of the MySpace era too, when you could actually get your music out to people in a way that didn't require the record labels to push it to people. We're in a level now where we're seeing artists that had, not gained prominence for 10 or 15 years start to really pick it up because someone is latching onto them in somewhere online that the record labels aren't pushing, that the managers aren't pushing. So in a way, you did that before it became a much wider known thing and a much wider potential way for artists and people to get their art out there, get their music out there, and not have people hold them back because they had ulterior motives.
Exactly. And the funny part is, a lot of those people are the ones that are not working in the music industry anymore, truth be told. And, I'm not saying that, to make anybody feel bad, but, I didn't see that coming. I thought they would always be there and I wouldn't be, because that's what they led me to believe. But here I am. And as I said before, I'm very grateful to still be here and still making music and just focusing on evolving and being able to try. There's always something new to try, and I think that's what this new album is about. It's called Reinvention, and a lot of people say, so what's Reinvention about? It's certainly not about reinventing the wheel. We are another rock and metal band. There's no question about that. But at the end of the day, we've been continuously evolving, and I feel like we definitely achieved that on this album. So we're very proud of it for sure.
And if you've been around for so long and you don't have that continuous evolution in terms of sound and sound, that continuous I'm not even going to say change of sound, because we've seen artists that have gone from like one album, they sound like this, to another album, they sound completely different. And very rarely does it work. You're not always going to have like an AFI situation where the sound's going to be completely different every single album. It's just going to work. But
yes.
When you have an evolution like that and it's not necessarily reinventing sound, it's just going to where you're going to be going to next. Where's the next interesting piece? Where do we want to go with this? And throughout your career, by believing in yourself and investing in yourself, you're investing in what you want to do as times change, as styles change, as your interests change, as what makes you tick or what makes you just get up in the morning changes. That sound is going to change because it's going to hit you in a different, impactful way. So we're going to see that on Reinvention. Well, everyone can see it in a chunk with the singles that are out right now. But when the rest of the album comes out, they're going to see it in full.
Absolutely. And I'll go as far as to say, reinvention also comes from, if you heard us 20 years ago and when we first started, we're much lighter. We were very much a rock band, versus alternative metal band. And, we always kind of leaned towards that, but those weren't the songs that were getting pushed by the labels. So at that time, most bands, as they get older, they get a lot lighter. And we've definitely done the opposite. It's like the older we get, the heavier it seems to become. And I don't think that it was planned that way. It just is what feels right. And but a lot of people that really like the ballads and the girl meets or the boy meets girl kind of stuff, they are not going to find that so much. Maybe lyrically, but not so much instrumentally. So what I did was I started my own solo project called Crispin. And so if you like the kind of more ballady stuff, you kind of you go over listen to my solo stuff. If you like the heavier stuff, you listen to the Veer Union. That's basically what's happened, and another evolution of what we're working on over these years. And
if you like older Veer Union stuff, then you just go back to older Veer Union and you enjoy it thoroughly.
Amen.
Absolutely. But when it came to Reinvention, and you say, going from that rock style and now progressing more into an alt metal style by going from what would be lighter to heavier, again, like you brought up, there's a lot of other bands that start out heavy and they go lighter. For you, what's the kind of reason or motivation that led you to that over the course of so long? Like, what are the things that are making you tick that have made the Veer Union go towards a little bit of a heavier sound over the course of time?
I think that there's a lot of bands that, when I first started kind of even getting into metal, which is years and years ago, I was listening to, like bands like Pantera, that really inspired me. But then kind of like the metalcore sound kind of started, and I was like, I really like that. And there's a catch-22 to that as well, though, because I'll just be straight up honest. I'm not super stoked about where metalcore is right now. I feel like everybody's trying to do the same tricks. Everybody's trying to do the same thing, and it's getting pretty boring, if I'm to be honest. I look at my Spotify release radar, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, 150 bands that sound the same. I'm just like, I'm pretty over it. And I think that the next music that we're going to be putting out is probably going to be a little bit different. Doesn't mean I'm not I'm so proud of this album that we've done. And mostly because of the fact that it's true to the core. Every lyric is something that I've experienced in my life. It is as real as it possibly gets. And I think that that's another thing that's kind of missing. I think that there's a lot of bands coming out these days that it's just it's becoming very diluted, and there's less heart in whether it's the performance or whether it's the lyric. And it's maybe it's because of AI, I don't know, but it's getting diluted, and that's a little bit sad to see.
I have to agree with you in a lot of different ways on that, because I've been doing this podcast for about 7 years now, so I really started kicking this off in like February 2019. So kind of being in that vast array that's when I could start seeing metalcore kind of have a little more of an interesting sound to it. That's when it was getting away from that same old style that was like in the 2015, 2016 era.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, now when I'm listening to metalcore records, there are a bunch that are sounding the same. There are a bunch of new artists that are sounding the same, but there are a bunch of other artists out there as well that are doing different things, that are doing unique things.
Agreed.
But because we have such a saturation of it, it's hard to get past that. And there is a point in time, too, where I do have to agree with you as well. There's a lot of times where there's a lack of heart in it, or there's a lack of that authenticity. It might be AI. Yes. It could be just trying to get in a cash grab because that heavier sound is becoming much more prominent. I mean, hell, even the day before we recorded this at the Grammys, Spirit Box played, and you never would have thought that would have happened 6 years ago from any kind of heavy band. So
yeah, it's true.
There is a connection there, but just having that ability to be able to listen to an album and just be able to say, this is authentic, this is real, this is there, and connect with it that way, that's where you're going to see that continued growth overall. And that's where these different styles of music, especially in the heavy music scene, are going to have to go with the artists that are going to rise to the top. So with what you guys are doing on Reinvention here, again, bringing more of that authenticity to the evolution of where the Veer Union is, it makes sense where it's like, okay, this is where you guys are at right now, but this is where we're feeling it right now because we're feeling you guys in these songs. We're not feeling like this is the same old stuff rehashed over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're very proud of what we've created, and we spent a long time working on this record. We have put out records where we just kind of we just worked on it very quickly. And I'm not saying that the songs didn't come together quickly, but the evolution of the album took forever. I mean, we never take like a year and a half to make a record, but this one we did. After every single thing was recorded, we sat back and went, I don't know. I think we need a different hook in the guitar there. I think I'm not really feeling the snare sound. We just nitpicked it all the way through. And I'm just really proud of how it kind of came together. So I think people are going to hear that authenticity in the record when you listen to it from front to back. And I think one of the other things that we focused on was making sure that we weren't going to stop once we had one good song or two really good songs. We're like, until there's 10, we're not going to stop. And I feel like we achieved that on this album.
And I feel like that's a great way to look at it too, because again, take a look back around, maybe 10, 20 years ago, there were a lot of artists that were out there that's like, okay, you're going to get two good songs. You're going to get them to be the hooky songs. They're going to be the ones that are going to be the singles that people would buy on iTunes. And then the rest of the album might be filler because the focus was solely on those two songs and getting music out there as fast as possible. I mean, you lived through those days. You lived through that era as well. So now when it comes to the mass saturation of music that is out there, the thing that's going to stand out is the music that is actually the best, because now you don't have the gatekeepers that you have to go through, just given the fact that you can upload stuff to Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, do whatever you need, put a sound on TikTok and have it go viral. But it's not going to connect unless the song is actually sonically good. If the song doesn't allow you to connect with it emotionally from front to back, if there isn't something that's going to bring you in and hold you in there. And by taking that time, it might be, a little different from what you guys are used to, but it's a different way to go about it and to make sure that you guys created 10 songs that you're proud of and doing it in a way that, again, like how you've done for your whole entire career, believing in yourself in the way that it should be done according to you.
Agreed. Yeah, that you've nailed it. That's exactly it, man. So.
And even diving a little bit deeper into the album as well, of course, we have 5 singles that are out on the album right now. From those singles, what have you noticed from the fan reception overall? Not only the fan reception, but just people that might be getting into the Veer Union for the first time because of these singles.
Well, I'll answer both. The first one is I think that a lot of fans have come. They're just like, I've seen the same comment over and over, which is amazing at this point in my career to get this comment, which is like, wow, they never miss. I love this song. Wow, I can't believe this song's better than the last one. Oh my gosh, I didn't think this song could get better. And so for me, I'm kind of like, that's what we hoped for from our core fan base. But then we started saying, I've never even heard of this band. I can't believe how good this is, and blah, blah, blah. And, and I'm not saying that, to toot my own horn or whatever, but those are the comments that we've been getting, which is when you've been doing this for as long as I've been doing it, you just hope somebody's going to like it, and at the end of the day, I feel like we've done our job on this album, because the vibe that we keep getting back is exactly that, which is right across the board. There's always going to be haters, but at the same time, I'm kind of grateful for the haters now, because when somebody comes in and says, "Oh, this sucks because of this reason," or whatever it is, I'm like, nice, it's happening. We're actually getting further because we're actually pissing people off. That makes me happy.
And even if you're pissing people off too, it can go one of two ways that can always work to your advantage. One, if someone actually says like, I'm not a big fan of this or I don't like this, and they give a legitimate reason, now it's a discussion point. Now it's something where you can even build off of that with that 100%. In a comment. You go back and forth, have a dialogue, and there's a great relationship or a great fan that can just be created right from that. Or you get people, or you get someone that's like, oh man, this is bad, this sucks, but it pushes the song in the algorithm because now there's a comment, there's a view, there's some 100%. Kind of interaction that's there. It's weird where it's that negativity can be propped up as, a positive thing. It's like the no publicity is bad publicity, or bad publicity 100%. Is good publicity. It all works in congruency on social media these days.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of my point, which is where I'm just like, if somebody actually takes the time to actually comment something negative, it's like, wow, I got under your skin and you helped out my algorithm. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
It's like, thank you. Now, it's like, now we hope you do the same on the next one because you were so pissed off. It's like, I want to hear how bad the next one is and just be angry. Grr.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Well, one question I always like asking on this podcast revolves around the songs that have yet to be released. Because, of course, at the moment in time, before the album releases, we can always listen to the singles. But for the songs that aren't released right now, they're going to be released on release day, we can't. I'm not going to ask you to pick your favorite because that's like picking your favorite child, and I'm just not going to make you do that. But I tweaked the question to say, out of the songs that have yet to be released, which is the one you are most excited for people to hear and why?
The Dying Light.
Ooh, why?
Yeah. It is definitely the most artistic song that we've done on this record, as far as like it's just a little bit left to center. And it's also 6/8, which is not, again, that time signature is not as common in rock. It's usually 4/4. But I feel like it's the most artistic. We pushed the boundaries. If it was up to me, fully and completely, I probably would have been the first single. And just because it's a very cool song. It's very there's a lot of hope in there. And I feel like when we were writing it, it was like the world is in a very, very dark place, and it was about just trying to see any light of hope, and that's what that song is about.
I kind of have to agree with what your take is on that as well, because by saying that the song is a little bit left to center in terms of sonic, you can hear that 6/8 time in there if you really focus in on it, because right when you said that, I literally in my mind was like playing the song and I'm like, oh my God, it is in 6/8 time. How the hell did I actually miss that? Right. But it does create that catchy piece, but at the same time, it allows the song to go in all these different places because you listen to the intro and it has a little bit more of this amped up feel to it. Then the verses come in, all of a sudden now it's switching. There's a lot of different switches that happen in this song because when you're talking about Dying Light, you're trying frantically to find any kind of positivity in a world that's going dark. You're trying to find any sort of brightness in there, and you're scrambling around. So the sound has to sonically match that scramble. And by going with the 6/8 time signature, there's a scramble that's already in the underlayer of the entire thing.
Yes, agreed, 100%. So no, I remember when we finished that song, we all I think that might have been the band's favorite song on the album, and I was always hoping that it was going to be the maybe the last single or the first single, because I really wanted to put out an art piece, and but we wanted to be collaborative with the label, with the Rising Empire, and they were like, we really like Feel Again, and I'm like, I love that song too. So they're like, we should finish with that one, and I was like, yeah, I agree. So we went with that. So, but Dying Light still, it might be, to answer your first question. You're like, I'm not asking your favorite song on the album. Dying Light might be my favorite song on the album. It might be, just because I like things that are a little left to center.
Well, I'm liking that you took it that way too, and then also brought up, it's like, this might be my favorite one on the record, because again, every time I ask that question, the amount of times I've heard people say, well, what's your favorite song on the record? I just need to ask something different for myself. Let's go in a different direction, but still in the same vein,
Yeah, you know what? I don't mind common questions. I as long as it's a good question. Sometimes the random questions that that come across, you're like, are we really talking about that? So sometimes a common question is not a bad thing. So
something not a bad thing is just I get used to the same old questions over and over again. I'm like, I
Yeah.
got to change up a little bit. So it's like, but the common questions are good. So let's take it, let's twist it a little bit. Let's evolve it a little bit. Let's reinvent it a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
And go forward.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. It's a great question, man.
Yeah,
So,
because even for myself, if it was something for me specifically, it's like, okay, out of the songs yet to be released, I'm most excited for that last one, Hole in My Head, for people to hear that one, just given
killer.
the overall
Killer.
progression of it, how the vocals had this specific tone and this certain drive that reminded me of something that was like a pattern of like Sweet Blasphemy by Black Veil Brides at times, just a more expressive tone, sometimes it be drawn out, and just the way everything worked together. It had this feeling for me that, you know, the intro comes in with this quick shift between this calm, aggressive indecision. The crescendos work perfectly into the chorus, bring that heavier sense of a melodic understanding and then like feeling of defeat at times throughout the song. The breakdown helps with that aggressive and angst because the drums and the uncleans work on the same pattern with each other so well. And that in itself allows that final chorus to properly sound larger than it would if that wasn't there. And that's a grander end to the album, in my opinion. Now, did I just say all that in a phrase? Yes. Did I read that off of a note sheet that I literally wrote while listening to this album to make sure I could say something like this? Yes,
awesome.
I did.
That is awesome. I appreciate you taking the time and really diving in. That's very nice because a lot of people, you do an interview and they're just like, yeah, so, and they say the name of the band wrong, and that they've never even heard of the band, and then they mention something about an album, then they say the title incorrectly, and then so I appreciate you taking the time and diving in. That means a lot to an artist like myself. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I see it as a reciprocatory thing, and it's like, if I want to do a good job, I got to go deep in this album. But if you're going to take the time to talk to me about your art, like, I got to take the time to put all the effort into listening to it and taking the time to appreciate it and get my thoughts on it so we can have a conversation like this.
Yeah,
and now people can look at Dying Light as like, okay, I'm excited to hear Dying Light to see how this song progresses. But now what about the end of it with Hole in My Head? How is this going to play out with what the conversation just went for? It's like you're adding so much more to it. I'm like, I got to be able to do this because that's what excites me.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. So, well, that's why you're so good at what you're doing, man. So I appreciate it.
7 awesome. Years, 700 episodes, and we'll see if I get to 1,000 though, because life, you never know what's going to happen with life. It changes at times, but
yeah,
we keep
100%.
going. Well, Crispin, I got two more questions before we wrap this up. The first is, of course, with the album coming out on February 20th, there's still a whole chunk of 2026 left to go. And I think I saw in the press release and I got the album that there is a potential North American tour and European tour coming up at some point this year. If that's true, that's awesome. But I'm going to let you answer that. What can we expect from the Veer Union in 2026 after the album release?
So there's a couple of things that are happening. First of all, yes, there's conversations about us doing a North American tour and a European tour. But at the moment, the funny part is every single time, if anybody's followed us as far as our tour history, we haven't toured since 2022, and it's because every single time we've toured, I mean, almost without fail, we go to across to the States, and it's harder for us to just to go to North America, or go to the United States. It's for us to cross the border. It's a $10,000 visa. So that's what it costs just for us to play our first show. So even if we, make a small amount of money, we're starting to recoup that $10,000 until, however long it takes to do that. Then your tour vehicle is going to, even for a cheap RV, is going to be about 30 grand. So we're 40 grand in the hole before we started a tour. So this is one of the reasons why I haven't toured. Every single time we go over there, our tour vehicle dies, either right after we get across the border or on the way home, or before we even got home. So the last tour we were lucky, we made it home. But literally we pulled it into the spot where we park it, and the engine died. It was seized. We literally turned it off and turned it back on dead. So that's like best case scenario because we didn't have to rent a vehicle to come home. Mm-hmm. So the bottom line is there's a small possibility that we might have to do some kind of fundraiser to raise money to do to get back out on tour. That might be coming. And the other thing is 10 years ago we released a record called Decade One, mm-hmm. which is stuff that we hadn't recorded from 10 years prior. But it's 10 years 10 years ago that album was released. We're very proud of that album. It was kind of like the restarting of the band. And so we're going to do a 10-year anniversary edition of that record. And then I think we'll probably couple it with this new album, and we'll probably go out and tour that. That's our goal. That's kind of what we're talking about doing. That's it. That's pretty much 2026 in a nutshell. Also, already started working on the next record. So lots of stuff coming up. The Veer Union's not going anywhere. That's what I can tell you, because I want to keep going.
Say lots of good stuff coming up. I love the answers to that. And hopefully it's all good stuff that comes into play, and, no tour vehicle is going to prevent that. However, I do want to thank you for actually giving us a look into, why I haven't toured since 2022, especially over here, the issues that come up with the money, just because as fans, now we get to actually understand it. We actually get to see the reason behind it, so that when that potentially, okay, we need a fundraiser just because of the stuff that's happened in the past, we make sure that, we're not going to completely, spend so much money where it's going to be hard to recoup and we can't do this again for another couple of years. Just making sure that understanding is out there. Now, as fans, we're like, okay, if we want to see this, we can support this. And we know this is going towards something that is going to make essentially the music industry a better place by helping out artists be able to get back out on the road.
Exactly, man. Yep. 100%. So
I'll say we need to keep doing it, but I got one last question for you.
Yeah.
It's my favorite question to ask on the podcast, because it's something for us as fans and as music lovers to get to know more great new music, and for you to get to support the music you love. But we're going to limit it to 3. Otherwise, Crispin, we're going to be here all day. But can you name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
Oh, that I love, that I'd like to see more people get into. Well, that's really tough, man, because I think all the 3 that came to mind are bands that they're the biggest bands in the scene that I think that are doing it great. I love the new Architects record, but I can't say they need more people because they're huge. And then, the next one that comes to mind is Bad Omens, but they don't need any more people. And then the next one that comes to mind is probably, I'll try and think of no, it's still Bring Me the Horizon. I still think those 3 bands, as far as metalcore, keep pushing boundaries. So I appreciate those bands very much, because they could just sit on the hill and not keep pushing boundaries, but they do. And I feel like some other bands need to do that, and so those bands inspire me because they keep pushing. So
we can rephrase that question and name 3 bands that inspire that you'd love to see more people really understand right now.
Fair.
We'll just flip the question on its head and call it a day.
Okay, there it is, man.
Well, Crispin, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. We're going to close this with 3 things. So first things first, everybody, when it comes to the Veer Union and the brand new Reinvention comes out February 20th, 2026, please go straight from the podcast below where it says find the Veer Union line. Links and labels for everything, for social media, YouTube, where you can go and pre-order, pre-save the album, where you can go listen to all the music when it comes out, where you can go catch these guys on tour when those tour announcements come, where you can go support them, make sure they do go on tour successfully, and pick up some merch as well. Go support them. All the links are down there. I'm going to label them as well, so you have no issue being like, hey, that's the one I want to follow. Easy. Done. I'm doing all the research. All you got to do is click, tap, and go. Now it's time for number 2. Whenever I'm guesting the podcast or I enjoy the podcast, I tend to make a certain promise as a way to say thank you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I wish to continue to support you in the future. Like I said, at some point in time over the last 20-some years, we've all seen the Veer Union play live if we've been into rock and metal. But that means I have to change this question up. Normally it's when I get to see you perform live for the first time, but now it's when I get to see you perform live the next time, because I've already seen you once, but honestly, I can't remember what year it was. Too many hits to the head. But the next time I see you perform live, my promise is I will find you and I will come and say hello to you. But that's not the real part of it. The real part of it is first round's on me.
Oh, perfect. That sounds good, man. Well, then I'm going to need shot of tequila and any kind of beer that you like. So that'll work.
Oh, dear God, you're speaking my language, man. I've got like 7. I love beer. That's usually my drink of choice. But if you got to get me something that's like, oh, hard liquor, what is it? I got 7 bottles of tequila in my kitchen right now just because it's a consistent birthday, Christmas present for my brother, and I'm never going to complain.
Nice. Well, our drummer's Mexican, so, we drink a lot of tequila.
Perfect.
So let's put it that way. Yeah, so.
I might just have to bring a bottle and be like, hey, guys, instead of first round, I just did this. Is this good?
Yeah, that would be perfect. That would be perfect. Yeah,
All right. Well,
I look forward to that, man.
Yep, I
Awesome.
look forward to it too. Well, Crispin, now it's time for number 3. Can't end this by saying goodbye. That is way too final because this is a great conversation. I'd love to go even further into it the next time we bring you on the podcast. Beyond that, though, man, I made a promise. I got to, keep good on that promise and fulfill that promise. So goodbye is too final. I'll end it by saying, I'll see you later.
I'll see you later, man. Awesome. Thanks for having me, brother.
Woo! Well, folks, it's my interview with Crispin from the band, the Veer Union. Time for Kevin's final thought. And there's a lot of great pieces that Crispin brought up here, and it not only shows why the Veer Union has been around for so long, but it shows a lot of other people and younger artists in the music industry kind of what you need to do in order to withstand for so long. Of course, we talk about plenty of times in the podcast when it comes to songwriting, when it comes to presentation, when it comes to the visual connection that you make at your live shows or online. We've talked about all that, especially this year. Go back to listen to our podcast with Major Moment, Shields, Our Mirage, and you will see a whole bunch of stuff that's around there as well. But when it comes to the Veer Union, when it comes to Crispin, what everybody brought up was, how many times people told him, if this song doesn't hit, your career is basically over, especially earlier on. You're limiting an artist at that point in time, and those people just want that quick payday. And the more you weed them out and the more you see there are people that are in there for the long haul, those people are going to be the ones that help you go further, the people that are going to invest in you. That's what you want to look for. And the person that's going to have to invest the most in you to succeed is yourself. And you've seen that continuously with the Veer Union. That's why they've been around for so long. That's why a lot of these bands have been around for so long. That's why when you brought up, bands like Architects, Bad Omens, and Bring Me the Horizon I still more people listen because they're still inventive. They're still trying new things. Those are the artists that are going to be pushing the envelope of any genre going forward. You're not going to want to miss out on something like that. And you see artists like the Veer Union that take inspiration from that and are willing to change and evolve given where their current situation is and what they're feeling at that same course of time. They're not writing the same records they did back in the late 2000s. They're not going to write the same record they did for a decade. They're going to write whatever they feel like writing. It's going to come through, and Reinvention is going to show that, especially with Dying Light being in 6/8 time. Yeah, it fits. It fits. I want to thank Chris for being on the podcast today. When it comes to the Veer Union, please go to the script of the podcast. Well, links, symbols for everything going to be down there for social media where you can find them online, know about when shows are coming up, go and see them play live, go and get some merch, and of course, go and listen to the album when it comes out on February 20th. Pre-save it or pre-order it before it drops, and if it does drop already, go listen to it and go buy yourself a physical copy. Please also follow us on the Chord Progression Podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Links to the podcast below. Hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, which is right down here. If you're on Spotify or podcast, hit the subscribe/follow button. If you please do, that'd be great. Also, please like these episodes as well to help push in the algorithm, and give us a comment. Give us what you think about what Crispin had brought up about the, the music industry. Give us what he thought about, his idea around music and what has come on Reinvention, and of course the thoughts on Reinvention as well. Put in the comment. I want to see what you guys got. Thank you, Crispin. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. I'm the big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah.